Welcome back to another episode of The Harbor. I'm your host, the Kino Cowboy. I'm here with Casher and Scott, like usual. Today, we are doing a film called Throw Away Your Books, Rally in the Streets.
Say the correct Japanese pronunciation of it, please, or say it
again. The correct Japanese pronunciation is "Throw away your streets, rally in the books."
Yeah,
that's the joke I've been making all week.
Yeah. It's a Japanese film, 1971, experimental. It's definitely got a sort of new wave feel to it. This is a little more obscure than I thought.
This is probably the most obscure movie we've done on the cast.
I thought it was way more mainstream than I was trying to look up stuff about it. And I was like, there ain't shit to like.
Nope, I've been looking up articles, just as curious to know what everybody else thought of it, and like, I've got some weird, like, fucking Japanophile, like, websites that really, really enjoy this movie, but outside of that, it's like letterboxd reviews, and that's it.
Yeah, no, I found a review on AsianMoviePulse.com.
Yeah,
and it has like a 2-paragraph Wikipedia article. And it's the only article that director has.
Which to me is a shame. This is probably one of the most, I could say, underseen movies that there is, because it's got this fresh, like proto-pop, like punk kind of feel to it, especially the beginning. And like, 1971, dude, 50 years ago. This is like so invigorating, especially as soon as he came on screen and started commenting on having to wait to start the movie and stuff. I was like, oh yeah, I'm in on this.
Funny. It's weird. It's one of those things. They do that a few times where they reference the theater or lean on the fourth wall or on the screen of the theater, and it's really a shame that, I don't know, watch old movies, and we've talked about the death of the movie theater on this cast before.
Yeah.
But it did bring a tear to my calloused eye, I guess.
No. And it's so, if I could have watched that in the theater, it would have been cool, you know.
I do watch movies like this from 1971, and I'm like, who funded this? How was this made? How was this released? Who would see this movie? Would people have any idea what they were getting into? Because outside of maybe a 1-paragraph thing in the newspaper, unless somebody wrote a full review, you know, you could be following, I guess, film magazines and zines and stuff. And also just movies stayed on the theater longer. If you had a small theater near you, you would be like, oh, what's this? Oh, this sounds good. I'm 20 years old and this seems like a punk movie and there's boobies galore in it, so let's go see it.
Well, it's like this movie is fucking, I just want to say this movie fucking ruled. And it sucks that there's not a ton of information that I can find on it.
That's us, baby.
One of the biggest things, though, that we can't figure out ourselves, I want to know the names of these fucking bands in this movie. This felt like a very, like, music-centric fucking film.
Yeah.
The music really tied in really well to, like, this sense of anarchism and fighting against, like, tradition and
attitude,
you know, like conformity. Like, you don't want to be a conformist, you want to have individuality in a world where conforming is what is needed. And so it's like, I want to know all these bands because they're like psychedelic rock, Japanese rock bands. That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, in fact, like, some of it, especially towards the beginning, the editing and the music and the shaky cam style, it honestly reminded me of like some of those early 2000s like skate videos and like those obscure DVDs your weirdo friend would watch of like skates and shit, like even like early like CKY. And it's like even like the earlier Jackass. But so this is so ahead of its time in that way, and I was like, okay, yeah, this is punk as it gets. especially like when they're in the sauna and the cameraman just wipes the fucking lens and like keep going. I was like, yeah, this fucking rules. Like,
there's so many things that like, because the narrative of this is everywhere. Like you are forced into perspectives of different things that are happening at different times, and coherently, it's like you're kind of lost for a lot of it. But it's good because it forces you to learn the perspective of other things that are happening around. But like uh everything else that's like this, the shots, the film, like the way it's shot, the music tie-ins, there's that scene where they have the tiny young woman hanging a dick in the middle of like Shibuya crossing, and it's like a dick punching bag, and they're just like filming from the top, and it feels like everything fits together so well, even though it's so chaotic.
yeah. And the whole film is this sort of like stylized, somewhat dreamlike take on some pretty serious events in this guy's life. That's like it's perfectly executed in a way to distance itself from the actual reality, and in a way that kind of like probably protects his psyche from the full blow of like the trauma going on, because there's some really shitty shit that this guy goes through. There's some like sexual trauma, a lot of it, and it gets kind of bleak, but it keeps this like distancing mechanism with like the dreamlike shit that they do with the film. It is very interesting to me.
One of the big
and also the fact that they constantly remind you that you're watching a film.
Yeah,
that's I think an intent to partially to lessen the blow of some of these. I mean, there's a rape scene in this movie. There's prostitutes at multiple parts of this movie.
Yeah.
Well, with like the way that it's presented, it's I was reading into this afterwards, but like I guess the main character, which is he unnamed?
According to IMDb, his name is Me.
Word.
Oh,
but I think it's Hideaki Anno. No, Sasaki.
Well, it
might as well be Hideaki Anno. We got a little cuck boy Shinji protagonist, man.
Well, it's like this is a lot of like people who have like the analyzation that I've seen in this is that Hideaki Sasaki is like an analogy for like Japan, and it's like descent into materialism and like industrialism, and his escape from the poor. I think it's actually Shinjuku is where he's at, like poor areas of Shinjuku, and trying to distance himself from his family and the traditions surrounding that is Japan trying to progress into what it is today, less imperial and traditional and more of the modern society that we've come to know it. And so like throughout the film there's certain things like he kind of like dwells back. He had the first scene that has like real sexual explicitness in it is whenever he goes to the escort. I was trying to be sex worker. I don't know.
Sex worker.
Fucking hooker.
Horse.
Well, he goes and like he's kind of like at first like very like he's got Mr. Omi, which that's another motherfucking demon in this movie.
Yeah.
But he's put into this situation where you think he's going to be like this confident go-getter because that's kind of what he puts himself off as, but you can tell that he's still so young and immature and like very like apprehensive to the sexual nature of the whole thing throughout the entire sex scene. He's got his eyes closed the entire time. He's like at the end he's like basically like get the fuck off of me, I'm leaving. And like I don't know, it shows that like this Japan, if you look at it as like the Japanese, it's like they're wanting to like break out and become more westernized and things like that, but they still want to, it wasn't ready at the time.
Yeah, because it was when they were making this, it was still in that transition because they had a big economic boom in the 80s, and a lot of contemporary Japanese culture comes from that late 70s, early 80s era. It just exploded. So this is really that kind of last moment before this big transition. And especially I like seeing, like, because over in America in the late 60s, we had like the Summer of Love, the hippie revolution, all that kind of stuff. And there's new ideas bubbling all around the world at this time. People are getting a little sick of shit bogging them down. So I'm always cool to see like an Eastern perspective of this time, and you get to see some of the free expression, and especially like with the dick and the punching bag dick is just a small example of that. But kind of like
it was pretty large.
Kind of, yeah, it's a medium sized, but kind of like in Funeral Parade of Roses, it has this idea of like we're gonna throw some shit at the wall, free expression. That's why we get certain bits throughout.
Right. Well, that's the title of the movie. Is throw away your books, rally in the streets.
Yeah,
it's like a lot of new wave film. It's breaking apart the conventions of film to get an emotional reaction instead of having a staid academic approach to film.
One of the things that I enjoyed was like a lot of like foreign films or anything like that don't touch on like westernization as like a bad thing. This absolutely paints it out to be the fucking end of Japanese culture. It feels like they're burning flags. They're talking about the older woman in this is just like, I fucking hate America. Whenever they're explaining the nursing home concept,
which is a very Western concept, very American concept.
Well, he comes back, he's like, yeah, you might hate America, but you love the movies, you like running water, you like good food. And she's still like, no, fuck that. And it doesn't paint America in the light that most of the films we ever see do. Especially because it's only like 25-30 years after the bombing of Hiroshima, the fucking war crime of Hiroshima. Yeah. Fuck you, Oppenheimer. Fuck you, Hiroshima.
I hope Barbie wins at the box office.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just like a complicated. It's an interesting take. It's nice to see, and it's like it doesn't even paint. It does, while not painting the westernization well, it doesn't paint that the culture around them is very good either. Like most of this
is like movie in a lot of ways, as playful as it can be.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of serious shit going on.
Well, and a lot of pessimism.
Yeah, but also it's interesting. What?
It's interesting. No, it's interesting to me that you mentioned their 80s economic boom, because now they've had, when that bubble, I don't know if it's technically a bubble, but after that, when they had a recession, that recession's been kind of going on since the 90s, after that decade. So there's this sense now in Japan of pessimism. You hear in falling birth rates and constant economic stagnation. And it's really interesting to see kind of where that came from before. Then there might have been this kind of ray of hope, I'm guessing, with the economic boom of the 80s. And then it came crashing back down because the country from Imperial Japan had its pride hurt, really. And has it ever recovered from that? I mean, I think lots of countries in that way feel that way, have an inferiority complex, you know? You have countries like Greece that have a lot of economic problems, even though they're the cradle of Western civilization. You have America now. You have Spain in the post-Civil War period. There's all this, we used to be this empire or this global power, and now we've fallen. And this is an interesting depiction on how that affects the youth, and a sort of jealousy, I guess, of the older generation, a contempt for example, the matriarch, putting her in a home.
Yeah.
And I
was just like, the main interesting part of this is that he comes on screen with this front, and he complains about being a nobody and how no one will remember him, and he almost like he wants to blame it on the film instead of doing the work himself. And you see throughout the whole film, he's this passive fucking baby about shit, and to extreme detriment, like, and it's just pathetic. And because what really got to me was when sister was in the shower getting assaulted and all this. He like barely even tries to break open the door. He does like the bare minimum to think that he tried to do it. And it just made me sick, dude. Like, I'd be fucking blasting through that door real quick.
Dude, the worst part about that,
especially because you can see the door kind of open because they didn't actually lock it, but that's more of a filmmaking thing.
Yeah.
Well, even that guy comes out, and
yeah, that's what I was about to comment on.
Yeah.
I was to say it's Mr. Omi. That's the guy who's like mentoring him this entire time.
This is coach.
It's the guy who brings them to the prostitute. It's the guy who's like trying to encourage him to do, like, kind of be more manly, more, tries to get him on the team, and then comes out and says one of the most fucked up lines I've seen in a movie. And he's like, "Flesh is falling from the sky, and we're all taking a bite."
Yeah.
And he says you can go first if you want, and laughs at him.
It's
all
fucked.
Because of a rabbit died.
Yeah, he gets groomed by his coach, basically, not because in a sexual way, but in a trying to take him under his wing, but he's a total piece of shit. And like, these are serious things. Like, he basically gets convinced to go to that prostitutes, and he's obviously not into it. He's crying and shit. So sexual trauma there. And then with his sister in the shower, and then the end when he's trying to talk to him, and he opens the door and his sister's in there naked. Just like, these are extreme fucking things. In reality, I would be in a nut house. But this movie stylizes it in such a way that it's such an interesting mechanism that the brain can try to protect itself, and that's kind of what we're seeing on screen. And I love that kind of shit. But then you get the actual, like, full on dream imagery, like especially with the reoccurring flying plane and stuff like that. And I love that he literally like comments on it at the end, like, to the audience. It's like, okay, I don't know. And there's information told through dialogue, but I love movies where I can watch like this, where a lot of the emotions are portrayed through a lot of like physical actions, imagery. You're still getting a clear look at this guy's coming of age, even through this sort of veil that they're sifting it through. It's cool, man.
Sexuality plays like a huge role in this movie throughout, not even with like the intense sexual assault, which, yeah, I guess we should set trigger warning if you haven't watched this.
I mentioned earlier that there was a rape scene.
Word. Then what's like, you've got his dad, who's like actively a pervert in the town, like a drunk war criminal pervert.
Yeah.
Who's like walking around and just casually grabbing the asses and fondling women. And then one of the things that really stood out to me about like how passive this guy is that Mr. Omi ends up having dinner with them after the rape has happened. That's kind of like one of the things he was trying to do to console his sister. He's like, I got a little bit of money. Let's go out to eat. And Mr. Omi sits down with them at the restaurant.
Yeah.
Basically like lecturing
at a Western style restaurant.
Yeah, I was gonna say before Mr. Omi sits down, I liked the inversion of let's go to this Western restaurant, and then she's like, no, I won't be able to do it right and all this stuff. He's like, I'll show you. And I don't know, that's such a novelty for me,
which is insane. I do feel like, so his sister, that character is obviously eccentric anyway. She has an almost platonic romantic relationship with a rabbit, or even more than platonic. But the idea that you don't know how to use a knife and fork is so absurd to me. And I mean, I guess at some point the average Japanese person had to learn that, but I don't know, people knew how to cut with a knife and fork before that, didn't they? I don't know. I was afraid they were gonna go full long duck dong with it and have them like not know how to do it, like in 16 Candles. But it's an interesting thing. I don't know. People here don't know how to use chopsticks. I fuck up with them.
Man, I'm really bad at using chopsticks.
Yeah, me too. But then I saw that clip where Annie Milonakis is in Japan, and he's been in Japan and so much. He's like, man, a lot of people in Japan, they just pick up the sushi with their fingers. That's how they do it. And I was like, yeah. Okay.
There's no rules with chopsticks.
Yeah,
people freak out about that. Better. It's like a lot of it's scooping that you just do that. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's like,
you don't have to eat it green.
The fact that Annie Milonakis was like a low key, like, really knowledgeable on like Japanese culture is funny to me. I don't know.
I went to a Korean restaurant that had chopstick handle, like what are they called? Like training wheels, basically.
Yeah.
And it's like a little pink bear that goes on the end. So
that's an idiot when you eat it. I would be too embarrassed. I'd rather just dunk my hand in the ramen.
I was so drunk on soju. I was just like, this thing's cute. Like, let's throw this on.
No, there's a ton of Western imagery in this. There's even when you said when his sister is with the coach after essentially groomed into a relationship with her abuser, Beauty and the Beast style. There's Charlie Chaplin on the door that he's knocking on, and then she's sitting next to this. I don't even know what it is, but next to this Mickey Mouse thing. There's a lot of blatant. At one point, somebody's carrying a big Sapporo drink down it, but has English lettering on it that's like Sapporo Lager. Da 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 da. There's a ton of that.
And before he's going into that, Mr. Omi's apartment, he's like basically like, how much is it to go to America? Fuck it, I want to go to America. It's like, do you? I don't think so.
No, you don't. We put you in camps in the 40s.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, that's it.
Because he doesn't know that. George Takei didn't explain that to him yet.
Yeah, dude. George Takei didn't come and like, hey, Arkansas, I was in a concentration camp.
Yeah, for real. Sheesh.
The FDR, my liberal hero.
How demented would it be to, man, like, to lose your virginity in a whorehouse because you're not a man. That's what you're expected to do. And it drives home that kind of feeling when like he enters the room, it's in first person, and it was a good little fact. I like a lot of the handheld shots in this. It's like I said, again, ahead of its time, but this just goes back like things are marginally better, but there's a lot of toxic masculinity that a lot of kids are still dealing with in different ways. And dads today even are like, they joke about like taking their kid to the strip club as soon as they turn whatever. And I don't know, man. I feel bad for them, but
Gen Z ain't banging like previous generations.
Yeah,
they're just spending all their time on OnlyFans.
I guess he craves
the set design of that brothel in that little room was so depressing. Like it was one step away from just full on Kikimori basement dwelling, like half expected to have a bunch of manga everywhere sort of thing. A crappy little TV. The bed was just this tiny little thing.
It looked quaint.
It looked quaint. There's like a hostel almost, and there's next to him there's the old couple banging. I do want to add, I did love when he gave 100 yen or whatever to that person who was like, I'll read your palm. And she just immediately goes, it's terrible, and just makes up something as a fuck you.
You're gonna die soon. All this.
You're gonna die soon. Fuck you.
He's like,
you can
give
sell.
me my money back.
He's like, I want my money back.
But she's just like, Henry has a real revolver. He'll punish you. Henry has a real. Who the fuck is Henry?
I don't know. It felt like a fantasy in that way, like a winch or something. You know, like just some random character in like a fantasy story when you're trying like a side quest or something and you're trying to get I don't know.
Quest.
I don't know. It's presented in that kind of way. I don't know.
And also now that I say that obviously his lack of a future reflects the sentiments of children of that generation having that sort of pessimism for the country as a whole and for the future of the country being potentially terrible, which is interesting comparing it to the optimism of the same generation in America, which is your, Jack Kerouac was a little earlier. Fuck Jack Kerouac, but your boomers and such.
Yeah. I guess he was looking for some sort of mentor in his coach because his dad's such a worthless piece of shit. But it's like, and he tries to like figure out shit for his dad to do that isn't just like spying on women and shit. Like how do you deal with that? Your dad being such a pathetic piece of shit. Wouldn't you want to be the opposite of that? Not be pathetic either, but he can't muster up shit to.
I don't know. Maybe he feels like he cleared a low bar.
For sure. It's like they again, it kind of goes back to sexuality in this. He's seeing like all different forms of sexuality and like perversion. He's got a sister who likes to fuck animals. I'm almost positive she was doing some sketchy shit with that rabbit.
Well, she was rubbing it on her boobs, and the rabbit was trying to get away because it didn't know it was in a movie.
Yeah, it's not consensual bestiality. But and then his like dad is like being perverted and is sort of just like a pathetic individual, and then the other individual that he has like sexual like mentorship with is his coach, who's a fucking animal. But then we also get spliced in like random interviews with gay men who are looking for other gay men to discreetly hook up with. And
we have a whole Craigslist personals just in the middle of the movie.
Super interesting.
Which is again so interesting, and that relates back to other Japanese movie. God damn it.
Yeah, Funeral Parade of Roses.
Parade of Roses.
I do the
one other Japanese movie that exists. No.
I do want to say my favorite of those letters was the chainmail.
Even back then they were getting fucking chainmail.
He was like, if you read this and send back within 24 hours, 100 years of good luck. But if you don't, you'll face a fate of death. Yeah. There was a Canadian man who died in an accident.
Yeah, dude. I remember. I even got texts like that back in like or late 2000s.
Yeah, no, I got it in middle school on my Nokia.
And like you would meet those stupid kids in school who like would somehow believe it, and I would be like, what the fuck's gonna happen?
No, I read it, so it must be true.
It was just embarrassing.
Didn't you buy a bag of alien piss from a kid in middle school?
What?
No.
What?
I thought this kid was selling it and you bought it.
Me?
Yeah.
No, that's episode of King of the Hill where a guy sells alien piss to
I thought Latte Carter was selling people alien piss. I might have.
Oh my God.
I don't know what this has to do with anything.
I was just saying, if you can believe that it's alien piss, why can't they believe in chain letters?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. I never bought alien piss or any piss. I should clarify.
Yeah. If you're buying,
I make my own piss. I don't need to pay for it.
Yes, dude. Side note: there was a guy in middle school who would bring a pack of 5 gum, which was new at the time, to 7th grade, and he would sell it $1 a piece, and he would make fucking like I guess $12 off of that every day. Because people first of all, I never really had money, so plus I wouldn't pay $1 for it. But that's just one of those like coming of age things. I was like,
snack hustlers are very
fucking
real.
Yeah, he was hustling.
And Sasaki wouldn't do that. Sasaki's not entrepreneurial.
Yeah, no.
What's the whole plot line with the noodle shop? Break that down for me, someone, because I got lost because I'm a stupid person.
His dad used to have a noodle shop, and obviously he like lost there something and got sidetracked, and now he's a fucking loser piece of shit. And that's the thing is like, this whole movie, bro, main character is passive as fuck. And then when he finally tries to stand up for his dad at the end about the noodle cart, it turns out that the fucking cart's stolen. So it's like a waste of time, basically. And then he purposely seems to like make a big scene for himself, trying to boost his own character, it feels like, and not just in this reality, but also for the like playing it up for the people watching it because he knows people are watching a movie. So it starts to like really blend reality together at the end, which I really like. So I
How
don't
much
know.
how much of a stand-in for the director is this guy? I hope not too much.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think the whole point of this is that this is Japan.
Yeah.
I think that's what he was intending. He's commenting on the state of Japan at the time and making this character. After reading that, I was like, yeah, that makes a whole lot of fucking sense because this guy is
Yeah,
way sure. I don't know if he's putting too much in of himself in it.
we cover a lot of movies lately that tend to blend reality with the movie, but we don't really get a scene where he literally tells you to your face that he was starting to forget what's fiction and what's real while making the movie. Like he literally just talks to you. That's what makes it stand out to me. And it's, the lie of filmmaking is so interesting. And he seems to have like a love and hate relationship with the cinema despite the film's existence and the world that he's living in within this film, depending on the cinema for its existence. So it's this whole meta thing that really fucking gets to me. I don't know. It's cool.
Escapism is a dangerous drug, and it's probably
Yeah.
my drug of court drug of choice.
Yeah.
It's a real problem. There's other stuff I could have done this weekend, but
do you guys think that the reason why his family is going through the things that they are doing is because of the death of the mother? Do you guys, because they talk about at the beginning, he says kind of awful shit when introducing everybody, but he doesn't say anything bad about his mother, just says she's dead.
Yeah.
And like it seemed like there had to have been a point where it may have been like a happy thing. I mean, his father being a war criminal, I mean, may not have helped, but like, do you think they were always like that? Because like, how could a man cultivate a family being a fucking no?
well, it was probably always bubbling under the surface, and she was just kind of keeping it together
Well,
as
that's
a
what I'm saying.
patriarch.
Like, do you
Yeah,
think?
probably.
And this is going to sound a bit dark. There were a lot of war criminals in Imperial Japan. The Geneva Convention was not a thing. Torture, was a thing. So who knows? And that whole generation, I've even heard from the other side, Arnold Schwarzenegger talk about the ex-Nazi soldiers, how they were all abusive drunks when they got back from the war because there was this shame and this guilt and this loss of pride.
Good.
And that's just how it goes. I mean, hell, even our veterans have huge problems, not to that extent, obviously, but it's a weird thing. And it's gotta hurt your pride, because I do wonder how much do I of that I know about Imperial Japan as Western propaganda, to be fair.
Well, I'm wondering if like everything started to slip from under.
Surely.
Yeah, but how
And
much of
there's probably something Freudian there, but I don't know enough Freud, and I don't know if I care.
well, how much of the death of your wife is going to cause you to uh
Pinch
try
girls'
and
butts.
and peep on women, and also like shit
That
like
may
when
be
he kills, killing the rabbit because you're afraid she's going to be too soft of a person
well.
because of her
So here's
attachment.
the thing with the dad. I think a lot of it was exasperated. The first thing they ever point out about the dad, besides him being in the war, was that he's a drunk.
Yeah.
Like maybe the alcohol after, like he may have just like consumed himself with alcohol after the death of the mother, and that kind of just like amplified the bad behavior.
No,
Yeah.
the death of the mother definitely had something to do with it.
Because like he wouldn't have pointed. That's the only time we hear anything about the mom, really. Is in the very beginning when you're going through the photo. He's like, "Here's my man-hating whore of a sister," Here's my shitty grandma. Here's my war criminal father, and here's my dead mother.
And clearly the guy it's in the background was you could argue he obviously liked his mother more and was therefore feminized because he didn't have a proper male role model, if you want to read into it that way.
I just thought that was interesting. It felt really intentional to like the plot of this, and I'm curious to know like what they were like before that, which that may tie into the whole Japanese, traditionality or traditional, and like how the death of one thing maybe caused the descent into like blind American obsession.
I like how they have different songs in this movie for different parts of the shit that's going on in his life, and
best part of the movie is the music. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah, it's like
one of the best soundtracks I've seen in a movie.
And like the scene where they're putting the grandma basically into a home, but it's portrayed like she's being sold off, and that's such a interesting way to put it. And
yeah, because global capitalism is destroying Japanese culture. So you're selling off your culture to keep up with the global marketplace.
Yeah, and the song where they're basically singing about his sister being a whore, basically, and towards the end, I don't know. It's just your mind protects you in such interesting ways when you're a kid, and then sometimes you have to unearth these memories that were sort of disfigured in a lot of ways, and so I relate to that movie in that way of I don't know, it's such an interesting way to portray trauma.
I desperately want a track listing for this fucking
Yeah.
I found something. I found a review on IMDb that mentions a couple songs. I'll send it to you.
Yeah, please.
The Lie of Filmmaking.
Soundtrack by Tokyo Kid Brothers and J.A. Caesar, who appears as a long-haired poet.
Interesting.
And there's one of the tunes is called Mother. Or no, it says what I presume is called Mother, which even borders on Oedipus's complex.
There's a Throw Away Your Books, Rally in the Streets SoundCloud. What the fuck? Because I really, really enjoyed this, and I'd like to listen to it.
You guys remember there was like that weird Robert Crumb styled hentai comic?
Oh yeah,
which is another.
That's just more again, like
Western influence. It's more sexual depravity.
Yeah,
and I think the it's incestuous as well. I don't know.
Yeah,
there's all sorts of weird imagery. Yeah, towards the end you have schoolgirls stripping to music for no reason.
Yeah, you have that dreamlike part where he's sitting in his coach's apartment and his coach and the girl are being intimate, and there's this giant bottle of alcohol on the ground and stuff. And it's like his inner consciousness is amplifying his like very basic teenage jealousy. But you can tell it's jealousy, but he's also confused because this guy's supposed to be a role model for him, and this shouldn't be normalized behavior, but he's still in this young state, and much later it's going to affect him even harder. I don't know. That's really fucking gross. And there's still a problem with these kinds of people can be groomed in different ways, I guess. And you only associate that with like 28-year-olds dating 15-year-olds now, but the grooming is a problem in much more ways than just that.
Well, there's certain coaching into poor behavior if you're trying to find a surrogate father figure and there's a piece of shit. And again, it goes back to that cultural shame of Imperial Japan. How can you have pride in your country and pride in your ancestry with stuff like that? I think in the past several years, certainly post War on Terror sort of thing, America's had a similar reckoning with its history. And now some people are like, no, we shouldn't teach CRT, blah, 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 because they don't want to reckon with it.
It demonizes white people, Scott.
I'm tired of people thinking my life is easy just because I was born white to a middle class, double college educated parent home with home ownership.
Yeah, well,
and 2 cars. Life was hard for me too.
I was
there was a King Crimson poster in that scene, by the way. Go on.
There's some they take the time to make some of the sexual trauma in here still a little like gray, because you get confused as to whether he's actually crying in this prostitute's room or if it's just in his head and if he's just being a baby about it. And because it superimposes the different shots of him going through stuff, you can tell it's his head. And also like the scene where she's sexually assaulted in the shower, it starts off with her smiling and enjoying it before everyone runs in. And but then you have to wonder how much of that is her own mental illness because of the death of the rabbit and stuff, which makes it even more fucked up. I don't know. There's just a lot going on with these, I guess, memories that are being presented on screen. So
it's a lot of gray area, and I'll say it again. I think it's reminding you that it's a film and that it's performance, so it's not too traumatic, because it's already tough to film. And I think the guy obviously didn't want to be, no, let's have a hardcore rape scene that puts off the audience. That's not the tone he was going for.
If we look at this family as like all different aspects of Japan at the time, feminism was a big thing that was coming about around this area in all parts of the world, in the Western society, and I guess in Japan as well, as I was reading.
Was that I don't know the history of feminism in Japan. I mean, we had second wave feminism coming out of that. In the States, I think second wave.
A big thing though is that maybe his sister was the interpretation of feminism in the country at the time.
How
so?
Well, I'm just looking at it as like the different aspects of the whole thing. She becomes more sexually free with the rabbit, I guess. She's called a man-hating whore, so she's rejected the idea of the patriarchy, and then when she does try to form some sort of semblance of a sexual nature with a man, it ends up being a gang rape. And her innocence is kind of fully deflowered at that point.
No, it is because her dad tries to get her another rabbit and she doesn't even want it.
Then at the end, she ends up with Mr. Omi, her abuser, and she's kind of a kind of like accepted her place in the world as like a woman, as being, it seems like she's kind of become content with being a piece of meat, if that's the best way to describe it.
No, I guess if you're going to go that way, it could depict the failure of the feminist movement.
Yeah, well, that's
which I do know. Again, I don't know the history of feminism in Japan. I do know that generally, compared to say the United States, they have more traditional expectations for women. Even if you have a career, you're expected to maybe put it on hold or not focus it on much, or even just be a stay-at-home mom, be a housemaker. That is more expected than it is in a lot of places in the Western world today. So I have read.
Japan is a very like private culture when it comes to sexuality, even though they are also one of the more like people would say perverse in their sexuality. Like,
yeah, they blur their genitals.
Well, yeah,
so they have to get off in other ways.
But it's like, so it also shows like the repression of sexuality in Japan too. I don't know. I've been thinking about that a lot because like you've got the grandmother who is a thief and she's selfish, which shows like the older generation really only cares about this. And then you've got the dad who's a drunk who's probably traumatized from the war and the death of his wife, and he's perverted as well because it's repressive. And then you got the daughter who is like rejected the patriarchy only to succumb to it. And then you've got the main protagonist who is trying to escape all of that.
Yeah, the guy who puts on a front and acts like this big shot, and then he's actually this complete loser who tries to shit on the lie of cinema only to depend on cinema because he's so desperate to be remembered.
He rejects
he needs that false front of cinema.
He rejects conformity, but at the same time succumbs to conformity.
Yeah.
Like throughout this film, he's trying to find his own individualism, but falls in with groups that are in itself conforming to those groups' norms.
I think a lot of individualism in this day and age, prized by Western culture, is treating the individual as something to be praised, when really what you're doing is how to say this? There's a lot of desire for people to express their individualism through consumption, whether that be clothes or brands or fandoms. So even individualism can be co-opted by the market and turned into a sort of a collectivism, because you are buying into trends, and those trends can also be manufactured. Yeah, I wonder what this director's childhood was like. It really makes me interested.
Yeah.
It almost reminds me of Ari Aster, where you're like, what the fuck happened to you?
Yeah.
You know?
And that also makes you think of like any other filmmaker could have taken these kinds of themes and scenes and it would have been way more demented, fucking way harder of a watch. And yet it has this punk rock feel to it that just like works. So
yeah, this has been kind of a dour cast, I feel.
Yeah.
But I had a great, it's a fun movie to watch, as fucked
right,
up as that sounds. Like, there's certain scenes that are definitely not fun to watch, but then it'll sandwich it between these vignettes that are a lot of fun, in which really have no relation to the plot. I think this movie maybe could have been shortened down a little bit. It's 2:17. If it had been like 10 minutes shorter, I wouldn't have complained. But it's not that it felt too long, but I do wonder how much of it was earned or could be cut out. But there's definitely a throw everything in the wall and see what sticks sort of mentality. But yeah, you have all these fun vignettes. Like, one of my favorites was they're interviewing this prostitute and they ask her favorite book, and she says the Bible, which is interesting because that's, again, Western. And then they ask her favorite magazine. She says Playboy, which did have articles back then, to be fair.
Yeah.
You have people like Joyce Carol Oates getting published in Playboy, which I think.
Well, yeah, now
they only have articles in Playboy now. They took out all the nudity.
Yeah.
Fucking woke culture.
Did they take out all the nudity? I thought they took it out, but then they put it back in because they realized.
I just remember them being a big deal that they took out.
I don't know. I don't.
That's the same magazine that John Mayer discussed all the women he fucked and got a lot of shit for. It's probably my favorite interview in that one.
I mean, do you think John Mayer didn't get down? Was that a surprise?
Oh no, he did. It's just like you gotta read this shit.
I remember once he was talking about like his porn addiction.
Dude, his interview, like one of his interviews in Playboy, is just like him explicitly talking about the women he slept with in Hollywood, and it's fucking.
He's a weird guy. He's probably he's a weird eccentric artist, and then
one of the best guitar players to ever live.
So. Yeah, and probably hungover.
Well, yeah, I guess it's like Americans don't want to look at tasteful nude models. They want
I want to see that gape, bro.
Crippled penetration.
Yeah, I want to see that prolapse.
No,
I don't
know.
It's gotten too intense.
Yeah, closing thoughts on Throw Away Your Streets, Rallying the Books.
It's been one of my favorite ones we've done on the cast in a minute. This has been it's a fun, thoughtful, but also not fun and kind of fucked up.
Insanely underseen. Like, what the fuck?
It is weird how little discourse I see in the English language over this film. Because to me, like, if you'd shown me this, I would have been like, oh, well, surely this is a canonical Japanese new wave film, but I don't think it is outside of very select circles, which is interesting. And also, it's a hard watch. It's a weird movie, so a lot of people.
That's why we're here, folks, because no one else is going to cover it, so we will.
Yeah.
The director Cujo, badass name, by the way. I do want to say, he says that more can be learned about life through boxing and horse racing than by attending school and studying hard. This guy fucking rules.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd fully go along with the anti-academic stance this movie's taking.
I love it. Yeah, no, this is one of my favorites we've done. It is punk rock. I didn't realize there was like a punk rock psychedelic scene in the Japanese. had. It's fucking cool.
Yeah, no, side note, this is the same year that Godzilla versus Hedorah came out, and it was like this big shift from the anti-nuclear war kind of cinema of the original, and it shifted to environmentalist feelings. And that movie has the same like weird psychedelic rock interspersed throughout, and like people like dancing and tripping.
Is that the
out.
Smog Monster one?
Yeah, crazy shit going on. The one that you fell asleep in. Yeah,
we had I don't know, when was the EPA established? Sometimes around this.
EPA!
No, there's a big environmental movement in the wake of industrial.
Yeah.
And they even talk. I mean, there's definitely an idea of the death of nature. He talks about, just in case you didn't get it from everything else, trapping a lizard in a Coke bottle and then it growing too large and get stuck in there. And then he's like, "Are you strong enough to escape Japan?" It's like, okay, we get it. Why? Yeah, I get it. I already got it. But thank you for the idiots in the back who haven't walked out of the theater yet.
Yeah, they need to show this in a theater. I think
that'd be good.
This is one of those movies that's due for its reevaluation.
I don't think this is on Criterion or anything.
Yeah, it's not on Criterion, which I assumed it would be. I can't even remember where I found out about this movie. I'm just that guy, you know.
I will say, the perception of American culture is always interesting, and Coca-Cola is like the biggest thing. That and McDonald's. I had a Japanese guy once from Osaka. Like, he was making small talk with me, and one of his questions was, "Do you prefer Coke or Pepsi?" I'm like, "Why? That's such a weird
Coke
question to
every
ask."
time.
Yeah, Coke every time. But also, like, of all the things to ask me about my culture, it's so funny. That's the connection you make.
It's like half the Americans
cool guy.
probably ask about anime.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's funny because here would be politically incorrect if I went up to somebody who was like, "What's your favorite Gundam series?" You know, or something like that.
Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. Next week, we're doing something way more digestible. King Kong, 1933, I think. I can't remember the year. I should know it. And I'll probably bring
Monkey dies at the end. Spoilers.
It's 33.
We just saved you another video. You don't have to watch it anymore. Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next week.